The story I'm dealing with today is Marxist's plan coup d'etat in Canada. Three men who were all members of the Communist Party of Canada in their youth, Stephane Dion, Layton and Gilles Duceppe, are basically planning a Marxist coup d'etat to bring down the democratically elected government of Canada. In the last election, 143 Conservative MPs were elected, 77 Liberals, 49 NDP, and 37 Bloc Québécois, and 2 Independents. However, the thing the three opposition parties in Canada all had in common are that they are led by Marxists. Stephane Dion, who leads the Federal Liberals, Layton, who leads the Federal NDP, and Gilles Duceppe, who leads the Bloc Québécois. Naturally, Marxists throughout the ages have always been underhanded and undemocratic in their policies. The fact that three lifelong Marxists, while no longer official members of the Communist Party of Canada, now head the three opposition parties and are planning to defeat the government on a non-confidence motion and form a coalition government which will then impose Marxist-Leninist economic policies on Canada could unfold. However, before that happens, there is a very real possibility that the Canadian nation itself may break apart if the Liberal Party, the NDP, and the Bloc Québécois form a coalition government. There has always been a phenomenon known as Western Canadian separatism. It became particularly strong back in the early 80s when a then Marxist Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, also the leader of the then Liberal Party of Canada, brought in a national energy program which effectively stole the oil and gas reserves of the Canadian provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan away from the provincial governments of Alberta and Saskatchewan, even though under the terms of Canadian Constitution the natural resources are the property of the provincial government. Nevertheless, this did not stop a Marxist like Pierre Elliott Trudeau from trying to do just that. When that happened in 1982, a Western separatist member of the Alberta legislature, Gordon Kessler, of the Western Canada Concept, was elected. Now in this latest maneuver, over this past weekend, as the three leaders, Marxist leaders, Gilles Duceppe, Stephane Dion, and Layton, met together to form a coalition government, already Western separatists began circulating petitions in their respective provinces asking the provincial premiers to call referendums on their provinces leaving Confederation should a Liberal Party, NDP, Bloc Québécois coalition government form. Even though the central Canadian news media for the most part has been ignoring the story of the firestorm of Western separatism which is now burning on the Canadian Prairie provinces, Mark Oliver, CTV Ottawa Bureau Chief, passed it off as a passing phase, shows how out of touch most of the news media in Toronto and Ottawa are when it comes to Western Canada. People in Atlantic Canada, Ontario, and Quebec who want Canada to remain together should bear in mind that if a coalition government of the Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc Québécois form, this petition will probably see names in the hundreds of thousands, perhaps the millions. This radical notion could spell the end of Canada. Political commentators I've talked to in the past who have talked about a North American Union, some of them say that a North American Union will form by 2010. I always thought this was outrageous. However, given recent political events in Canada, which will probably lead to the breakup of the country, the Canadian West probably would, as a new nation, probably would be interested in forming a North American Union with the United States and Mexico. So perhaps these political commentators who say that a North American Union will form by the middle of 2010 are in fact correct, especially given the results of recent political events in Canada.